wake up, it's time to be free. Wake up, was blind, now I see. Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Welcome. It's Julie and Gordon here with another episode of the Daily Jules, where I drop nuggets of wisdom to help you increase your degrees of freedom. It does not matter how many college degrees you have. What really matters is your degree of freedom. It does not matter how much money you make. What really matters is how you actually make money. And so today I want to talk to you about the three types of freedom. Types of freedom. You know, I spend my days and nights thinking about freedom, and I recognize that there are three types. Now, a lot of people focus on one type of freedom, and that is financial freedom. Everybody focuses on financial freedom. If I just had more money, then I'd be free, right? And financial freedom is great. It is the most liquid form of capital that there is. Again, there is your personal capital, intellectual capital, social capital, physical capital, human capital, and financial capital. And usually what a company does, especially when a company profits, they don't just keep that money and hoard it, right? What they do is they actually reinvest that financial capital back into more personal capital, physical capital, human capital, social capital, and an intellectual capital in order to continue the cycle. That's called endowing the money. You can take the money out of your business, right? And out of the game, and it's not going to grow that way. But if you endow it, what does an endowment mean? Endow means to create perpetual income. And so we don't want money just for money's sake. We actually want money to invest in other ideas and other forms of capital that, when put together, create even more change and impact and, of course, money at the end of the day. And so financial capital is one, right? That's number one, is financial capital, right? Financial capital. And the way you win at financial capital is because each one of these forms of capital has a game to it. And you have to master all three games in order to have true freedom, right? So financial capital is what? It's a numbers game. Numbers game. That's all it is. It's a numbers game. And I teach millionaire math. And millionaire math is really the numbers that you need to know and actually to grow your wealth. There's a lot of numbers from algebra and calculus that are irrelevant to your becoming more free. But there are some other equations and formulas that are essential for you to know what an amortization schedule is and how to calculate how much interest a particular real estate investment is going to cost you over time, and to assess whether or not that real estate investment is going to be cash flow positive. Yes, there is some math that is important for you to know. But then there was a lot of math that we were taught or graded on and graded poorly on that is actually irrelevant to your freedom. And so the first form of capital is financial capital, and this is the one that everyone wants to pursue. And I meant to put financial freedom, right? And this is the one everyone is trying to pursue. But guess what? It's very hard to get to financial freedom without having this next one, which is mental freedom. Mental freedom. Okay? Mental freedom. And what kind of game is mental freedom? Of course, it is a mind game. It is a mind game. The difference between Jay-Z and the person who lived down the hall from him, given that they had the same conditions, they were in the same financial situation growing up, was his mind. What did he say? Hove, remind yourself, nobody built like you. You design yourself. This kind of awareness that whether he got it from the 5%ers, whether he got it from his parents, whether he got it from spiritual texts, this kind of mindset of recognizing his value and his wealth is what differentiated him from the other people who he might have grown up with, right? It's a mental game. If you define yourself as poor or as broke, then you are actually just communicating positively to the universe that this is who I am and this is what I want. And then your external conditions reflect that. Right? You actually have to conquer the mind game first and recognize that you are a gold mine. You are a gold mine, that all the value is in here. And in order to get here, right, you actually have to recognize that it all starts within here. Every single idea, Amazon.com, Google.com, guess where it started? It started in somebody's mind, right? So your mind is like this fertile space that if you cultivate it and you recognize its value, then these amazing ideas start to sprout from it. These ideas that have tons of momentum and possibility start to sprout from it. But if you think of yourself as this desolate place and that all the value is outside of you and it doesn't start within you, then it's going to be very hard to ever get to financial freedom, right? So the game is really here. It's a mental game first, right? It's your recognition of your value and where your power truly lies. People think that they'll have power when they get these external things, but it's actually what gets you those external things is actually what started it here. It's the thoughts and the processes and the beliefs that you have here that allow you or are not allowing you to have the things that you want externally. Okay, so people focus on financial freedom, but they fail to recognize that it all starts with mental freedom. There's literally some beliefs that you have that may be blocking you. Like, for instance, if you're Christian, you might have bought into the belief that money is the root of all evil, right? And if you bought into that belief, it's hard to have that belief and then also be wealthy. It's hard to have that belief and also be wealthy at the same time because they're just incongruent. They're incongruent. So what we want on the outside, financial freedom, is oftentimes incongruent with what we actually believe on the inside, right? If there are people out there who are relying on the government to support them or other people to change in order for them to have what they desire, then it's incongruent with them actually stepping into their power and actually creating something of extreme value for the world, right? Anybody who engages in blame and finger pointing for why their life is the way it is, until those other entities change that you're blaming, right? You're externalizing your power. Whenever you blame, you're externalizing your power, which is all mental. It's saying that there's this entity outside of me, whether it's my student loans or my employer, et cetera, saying that there's this entity outside of me that is more powerful than I am. There's only one entity outside of you. Actually, there's actually no entity whatsoever that's more powerful than you. I was going to say God, but God is not outside of you. God is within you, right? Okay, so somebody who moves through the world recognizing their own divinity, and we are all divine beings. We are all made in our Creator's image. We are all divine beings. Nobody came from somewhere else, right? And once you truly recognize what that means, then your external life will start to express that. Okay, so we have to start with mental freedom first, and then that actually can lead you to financial freedom. But then if you go to the parable of the talents, it's not just about having a lot of money, right? It's actually about being able to multiply it and to actually use alchemy in a way to expand it into entities and energies and into manifestations that you want to see here on this earth. Okay, now the third one is key. And some people have this, but they don't have this. And that is time freedom. That is time freedom. And time freedom is a little bit different. These ones are very clear. It's a numbers game. It's a mind game. Time freedom is actually a leadership game. It's a leadership game. When I started my company, I was I started off and I was engaged in workaholism at a very high level, right? Because I had bought into these narratives that you just got to hustle, 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 and you got to grind, 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 and you'll sleep when you're dead and things of that nature. And though I was doing what I loved on a daily basis, I didn't feel joy within, right? I felt more trapped in some cases in my own company than I did having worked for somebody else. I didn't have time freedom. I didn't take vacations. I didn't stop working. And then fortunately, I got into a relationship with my wife who held up a mirror to me lovingly and said, you know what? You don't have control over your work. And so while I was starting to acquire some financial freedom and I had unlocked some things mentally, I wasn't experiencing any time freedom. And ultimately, time is more valuable than money. Even Bill Gates can't buy another minute of time, right? Nobody knows how much time they have left. So this idea that time is money is just absolutely not true. Okay. And so, and actually that idea is what causes a lot of people to end up in that workaholic situation because they believe that, oh, if I just put in more time, then I'll have more money. but you have to get beyond the time for money exchange in order to move into exponential wealth. Okay. And so what I mean by it being a leadership game is there are two types of leaderships. First, there's self-leadership, right? It's really getting clear about who you are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. And then once you're clear on who you are, then you actually have to bring in people around you and actually lead them to fill in those gaps, to move you towards your ultimate vision, whatever that is for you. And so when a CEO, they call it founder syndrome for companies and for for-profits and nonprofits, and I've experienced it in some of the nonprofits I've been in. I've experienced it in the for-profits I've been in, including my own, where the founder has difficulty getting out of their own way. They are wearing every single hat in the business. It is very hard for them to delegate and let go of things because they think that they are the best in the world, that everything or nobody else in the world will care as much about that piece of work as they do, or nobody else will do it with the quality and the integrity that they do it. So that traps them because they can never delegate and pass it on. And when you limit your value creation to just your time, then it will have a cap because time is a limited resource, right? So these are the three games that you have to win. You have to win the numbers game, you have to win the mind game first, and then you have to win the leadership game. This is how you expand. And when you have all three of these, then I believe that you will experience true freedom. This is where you will feel freedom, you will feel joy, you will feel all of these things, and you'll feel those feelings along the way, right? It's not just, oh, you got to wait till all these things are in place and then you experience them. No, you actually want to experience them along the way, but you want to make sure that a lot of people have one, some people have none of these, some people have one of these, and then some people have two, but not the other. And so you just want to make sure that you are balancing all three and aware of all three so that you can actually have the maximum freedom that you truly desire. All right. So this is Julian Gordon with another episode of the Daily Jules. I hope that these three types of freedom stay in your awareness and bless you on your journey. And with that, I will talk to you in the next episode. Peace. I hope these mindsets, metaphors, and methodologies blessed you. If you desire more freedom, go to getfreenow.com to subscribe to the show on iTunes, YouTube, or Facebook, and get 4 of my best courses in the Freedom School for 100% free.